Are we approaching the final denouement of a once great political party? The Tories are on their fifth floppo leader in 12 years, their third in 3 months, and they seem to be getting even less minimally, residually conservative with each iteration. Would you really be that surprised to hear the 1922 committee announce that Jeremy Corbyn has made it through to the next round of the next leadership contest? Is there an opportunity here for a political realignment? William Clouston is the leader of the Social Democratic Party and joins me now. William, I keep talking about 1992 and the Canadian Tories when they were reduced to 2 seats.
Yeah.
Is there a flaw for the UK Tories here?
I mean, the two-party system that we have protects the weaker party, doesn't it? That's how it works.
That's what the Canadians thought, though.
Yeah, no, but we're in different times. So I think we're in a sort of perma-crisis. We've had the GFC, and then we had COVID, and we've had, you know, it's literally one thing after another. And the public, the ordinary members of the country, they can see that we're very poorly governed, very poorly governed. And, yeah, I think the Tory party is in deep, deep trouble. I think the main reason for that is that it doesn't actually have any values. It's well known. Its only value is to have power. It doesn't actually believe in anything. And the word that I always use to describe them is indifference. They're totally indifferent to what is made where and by whom, even if it's slavery. They're not bothered about that. They don't care who runs our railways. They don't care who owns the water system in London. They just really don't care about anything. And I think the public have had enough of it, and I think they will certainly dispatch them in the next election.
For people who don't know, your party has its, and that's, you know, people under 40 or 50 or whatever, but your party has its roots in a breakaway faction from the Labour Party 40-something years ago. Now, on the continent, when we see these new parties emerge, whether you're talking about Marine Le Pen or Giorgia Meloni, they're basically people who are sort of rather leftish fiscally. They're not going to disturb the post-war welfare state in those, but they're culturally conservative.
That's right.
And they seem to have found that as the sweet spot in continental politics, culturally conservative but fiscally kind of liberal. Does that translate to the Westminster system and to His Majesty's dominions?
I think the first past the post system puts a very, very high wall around the two existing parties, so it's very difficult. But if you look at value divides and what people actually believe, about half of the public agree with our basic offer, which is traditional social conservatism, faith, flag and family, you might call it, bit of patriotism, caring about industry and so on, the foundations of society, and they combine that with a little bit of left-wing economics, which is, in our case, is caring about trade. You know, people care about who runs the railways. People want the utilities nationalised and under state control. Basically, the sort of Thatcherite offer hasn't conserved anything. So I've always argued that actually, if you're a social conservative, you want a little bit of left-wing economics in there as well, to offer the protection. And you saw that in the Brexit vote, actually. A lot of people thought, well, what are people voting for? Well, they certainly weren't voting to deindustrialise and gut your industry and ship all your jobs over to China.
Well, they also want, I think, the consolations of culture. They don't want to, if you're a certain age, you don't want to have grown up, lived all your life in the same town, the same county, and find you're living in a utterly transformed landscape.
That's right.
Where did the Tories thing was to ditch all the social conservatism, and as we saw last Thursday, they wound up ditching all the fiscal conservatism too. So they're basically standing there naked in front of us. What have they got?
Well, they've got nothing. I mean, a lot of these things are downstream of their own policies. The reason that we have high taxation, really, now, reasonably high taxation, is that we have economic failure. And we have that because we never cared to produce enough. You know, literally, the chronic problems that Britain has, we consume too much, particularly on imports, and we produce too little. And this has been going, the thing that tells you that is year after year after year, we produce trade deficits. We haven't had a trade surplus in goods since 1985. And that is exactly the sort of Tory, or New Labour were the same, exactly the same, indifference to what is made by whom, where. Let's import everything. And you end up with a gutted economy that's too centred on this city, and the price of that is high taxation and failure.
Well, Rishi Rich is a very sort of symbolic figure in that, because he's wealthier than the king, and no one knows. It's not like Henry Ford. Oh, he did the Ford Model T. You can see how he made his money. It's not even like Zuckerberg with Facebook. You might think it's rubbish, but it's a thing. With Rishi, it's all much more
It's ephemeral. Yeah.
You don't quite know what his riches have done for any actual Englishman, Scotsman, Irishman, Welshman getting up in the morning and going to work.
But all of these things have cultural causes, I'd argue. So if you look at immigration, for instance, we've had basically an open labour market for 30 years. What are the consequences of that? We don't have to train anyone. We don't have to bother. Because if we don't have enough of a particular skill, let's just import people. And that's the sort of liberalism that we're kicking against.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think Keir Starmer's speech today, in which he said we've got to basically, we're short of workers, let's import some from Sudan or Waziristan or whatever. We got to actually start training the people who are already here. Is that just a cynical move to get to the right of these useless Tories?
Well, he's concerned about trying to get red wall voters, for sure. They probably need those. They might have them anyway now, actually. I would look at not what he says today, just before a general election's coming along. Look at what he's done. Look what he's said over the last sort of 15 years in favour of mass immigration, in favour of open labour markets, and that is the clue to whether he's sincere now. Okay.
Okay. I can't really imagine a sincere Keir Starmer, but some of these posters. Calmer with Starmer. Well, less drama with Starmer. It's not an unappealing message.
Mark, my advice to the general public is don't vote for either. Don't vote for any of these parties that are the architects of the problems that we've got now. Don't vote for either. Vote for something new like the SDP.
No. I mean, they're both. The Conservative Party has been a failed party over this last 12 years, and the only problem is that His Majesty's loyal opposition is the even more failed party. They'd have done everything the Tories did, only more so. Thank you very much, William. Always great to see you.